Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first meeting for the 2025 EvilleCon. Today's meeting is just covering all of the very basics of volunteering. What is a volunteer? What are some things we may ask you to do? And what are the roles that we ask you to follow? To begin, you may hear us refer to you throughout the year as minions as well as volunteers. This is because we are Eville, and therefore you are our Eville minions. It's just a cute little thing that we've picked up over the years. There's a lot of various jobs that we may ask you to do throughout the convention, but we also do greatly appreciate you enjoying yourself at the convention. We encourage you to have fun throughout the con alongside working. To start off with, I am your volunteer coordinator. My name is Zephyr. My pronouns are they, them. I am also known as your minion wrangler. This year, I am assisted by my wonderful assistant, Matt. Pronouns are he, him. We look forward to spending an incredible year with you. To start off with, we do have some ground rules. In order to be a volunteer, you do have to be at least 13 years old as of the beginning of the convention. If you are between the ages of 13 and 17, we ask that you have a signed parental consent form. This is just a legal form that makes sure that your legal guardians are aware that you are volunteering for us and that we have their permission for you to volunteer. We must have this form by 8 a.m. the first day of the convention, which is going to be Friday, March 14th. If you do not have the form signed, then you will not be able to volunteer for the year. You can find this form on our website near the applications, or you can always send me an email and I will get one emailed to you. You can return this form to us either printed out and physically signed, or signed digitally by your legal guardians and emailed back to us. We also ask that for each day you are volunteering for us on Friday and Saturday that you volunteer a minimum of 5 hours and Sunday a minimum of 3 hours. We highly encourage you to space these hours out over the course of the day rather than do them all in one large chunk. However, you may do them all in one large chunk if you would prefer to do so. By volunteering a minimum of 5 hours on Friday and Saturday and 3 hours on Sunday, you will earn a free badge to attend the convention as an attendee for that day. We have a 3-strike policy for our minor rule infractions. If you receive 3 strikes in a year, you are dismissed with a minimum of a 2-year ban from volunteering. We do also have some major infractions that are a 1-strike policy and will also be dismissed from volunteering, but for a lifetime ban. Depending on the severity of the infraction, we may also ask you to leave the con. Some minor infractions include swearing on duty, using inappropriate language, being late to volunteering at your assigned time, not checking badges at the door, or if you are set at a door or at a registration table, leaving your post without letting anybody know where you're going. Some examples of major infractions include not checking IDs at panels that are rated as 18 plus and violating any and all rules that we ask our attendees to follow. And we'll be covering in more detail some of those rules later on. With a note on the hours, we understand that sometimes life happens. Sometimes you sleep through an alarm. Your phone dies if it's your alarm. Traffic can be awful. We understand. We ask that if something happens and you are going to be running late, that you contact us as soon as you are aware that you will be late. You can contact us through the EvilleCon Discord server, through the Minion chat. You can directly message myself or Matt. You can call one of us if you have one of our numbers, send us an email, but we just ask in any case that you try to let us know, both so we know that you will be late and so we know that you're okay. That being said, if you are late by more than 5 minutes without a good excuse would be something like you got caught in traffic, there was an accident, you had to assist a family member with something, there will be one strike issued. If you miss more than 1 or 2 hours without a good excuse, it will be 2 strikes. And if you miss 3 or more hours, it will be 3 strikes. On the other side, if you work 10 or more hours in one day, you will receive from us a small gift as a thank you for going well above and beyond. If you put in more than 10 hours on all 3 days of the convention, you will be included in the running for Minion of the Year. This will include a prize including a certificate thanking you for going well above and beyond, as well as a larger prize. When it comes to the basic duties you'll have to perform, these include things such as working for registration, checking badges, performing some heavy lifting tasks, room preparation, general hall monitoring, and something called gophering. When it comes to working registration, we have 2 positions. We have what we call the pre-registration table and the registration table. The pre-registration table is for attendees who have pre-purchased a badge and other goodies online before the convention. The registration table is for attendees who need to purchase their badges the day of the convention. Both of these are handled via computer stations, and any freebies that we decide to give out with badges, such as if we are giving out any buttons, any pins, anything like that, will also be handed out at that location. And we will be going over the registration system itself in depth during a later meeting. When it comes to badge checking, we will have volunteers sat outside the doors of any panels and events, and as well as the vendor room and the artist alley. It is your responsibility at this door to make sure that everybody who is entering the room has a badge, whether it is an attendee badge, staff, minion, special guest. For the badges, the attendees may be wearing them anywhere on their person. Most commonly, they may be located on their chest or hanging off of their hip, but we do not have a specific location they must be worn so long as they are in some manner visible. For panels that are rated for 18 plus, you must check for their valid state or military ID or passport. If the line is long, we heavily encourage you to start checking IDs before the doors open for the panel or event. So that way, at the time the doors open, you can make a note of who you last checked and then let all the people who are already confirmed to be of age enter in. We will also have for each badge for each day of the convention a different color. We will have examples of these badges in advance for you to view before the convention so you'll know what they look like, but this will help to give you a quick way to look and see what badge is for what day. And then a special note about lines for panels. Per our official policy, disabled persons, EvilleCon staff, on-duty volunteers, special guests, and vendors are not required to stand in line for entry to any event room. What this means is that an individual who is disabled or a member of staff or a volunteer who is working for the convention is not required to wait in line to enter into a panel room or an event. They may skip the line, and in the case of somebody who is disabled and may, for example, not be able to stand for very long, we invite them to enter into rooms early so that way they may be seated and not have to put themselves at risk by standing for an extended period of time. When it comes to heavy lifting, we often ask our minions to help us during setup and teardown. You are not required to help during setup and teardown, and if you have any issues with heavy lifting or do not feel comfortable with heavy lifting, we do not require you to do so. Your safety does come first. Some vendors and artists may also ask you to help during setup or teardown if you are available to do so. When it comes to room preparation, some panelists may need assistance with getting rooms set up for their panels, such as rearranging chairs, setting up stands, making sure their equipment is working, maybe setting up decorations. If you are at a door and you are asked to assist with room prep, all volunteers at the doors will have walkie-talkies available to be able to radio for another volunteer or for a staff member. It is imperative that you do not leave your door unattended if you are asked to assist with room prep. Instead, you may radio for another volunteer or for myself, for Matt, or another staff member to come and assist, and we will get somebody else to come and help set up the room. When it comes to hall monitoring, at all times that we ask you to look out for things such as general rule breaking or things such as shoplifting, drugs and alcohol, inappropriate PDA, injury and mental distress, or verbal and physical altercations. When it comes to inappropriate public displays of affection or inappropriate PDA, we are a family-friendly event. We therefore try to keep all things happening in our hallways at what would be considered a PG rating. This means that we do not allow in our hallways things such as makeout sessions, heavy petting. We do not allow leashes where somebody has a leash hooked to a collar or to their belt or anywhere else, and it is being held by another person. This is a safety guideline because if somebody were to be on a leash and they trip and fall, they could be very badly injured. We also ask that Cards Against Humanity is kept out of the hallways and restricted to the game room. We also do not allow outfits that show or outline genitalia. If somebody is wearing a spandex bodysuit for a cosplay, such as a Deadpool cosplay, we ask that they wear what is called a dancer's belt. A dancer's belt is an article of underclothing that gives bodysuits what we call a Barbie or Ken look, where there is nothing visible. We also, as a general rule of thumb, provide the guideline of if it would embarrass a sweet little old lady or cause a 13-year-old to erupt into a giggling fit, you may want to evaluate whether or not it is appropriate in our hallway. So, if you see a rule infraction, what should you do? When it comes to a minor rule infraction, such as inappropriate PDA or a game like Cards Against Humanity being played in the hallway, you may inform the attendee that they are not allowed to do whatever it is they are doing to violate the rule and why we have that rule in place. If it is something like Cards Against Humanity, you may direct them to the game room set aside for card games. And if at any point you are uncomfortable in approaching the attendee, please contact myself, Matt, or another staff member, and we will handle the situation for you. In the case of a major rule break, such as you witness theft and violence, immediately use your walkie-talkie to radio myself, Matt, or another staff member with a description of the location, the individual or individuals involved, and what happened. It is very important in these moments that you do not confront or chase the individuals involved. We ask that you stay in the area to help identify the person if it is safe to do so. Otherwise, you immediately return to the minion lair and only take action if told to by a staff member. Your safety comes first in these situations. We do not want you to get hurt trying to handle a violent situation. When it comes to a physical injury, if an attendee seems that they are injured, you please feel free to approach them and see if they are okay. If they indicate that they are not okay, Immediately report the incident and location to myself, Matt, or another staff member. If you are able to and they are comfortable doing so, you may bring them to the minion lair to get them to a more quiet and safe location. If the attendee is unable to communicate because they are unconscious or they are having a seizure, or if any reason they are not able to speak, clear the area around them and just make sure they are breathing. But it is important that you do not administer any form of medical aid. This is a legal guideline unless you are registered as an EMT or a first responder, you may not issue any medical assistance. This includes things even such as giving an attendee ibuprofen or Tylenol or anything like that. If you are an EMT or first responder, if you feel comfortable doing so, you may send proof of your licensing to myself, Matt, or the EvilleCon chairs, and we will keep in mind that you are an EMT or first responder should a situation arise at the convention. When it comes to an attendee experiencing mental distress, such as crying, having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, or anything else like that, if the attendee is with another person and seems distinctly uncomfortable or panicked by the other person, something you could do is you can walk over to them and interject yourself. If you are not comfortable doing so, please radio for myself, Matt, or another staff member. If the person needs to get away from whoever they are with, this will give them an out. You can always just do something like admiring their cosplay or their shirt, or maybe asking them about an anime or a game. This gives them a way that if they need to, they can leave the other situation that they are in. And once free, ask if they need any help or want to report the other person. If they say yes, please immediately bring them to myself, Matt, another staff member, or you can bring them straight to the minion lair. If the attendee is alone and is visibly upset, if you are comfortable doing so, please ask if they are okay or if they need help or if something happened. If they indicate that something did happen, please report the incident to myself, Matt, or another staff member, and what happened if they tell you what the incident was that happened. If you are able to and the attendee is comfortable doing so, you can feel free to take them to the minion lair to give them a quiet and safe spot to be in. If they do not want to go, do not force them. Simply wait with them if they are comfortable with you waiting with them, and wait for a staff member to respond and arrive. It's also very important to keep in mind that if anybody seems aggressive or is acting in an aggressive or threatening manner or has a weapon, to not approach them under any circumstances. Simply report it to myself, Matt, or another staff member, and that is all we ask you to do. We do not want you to enter in a potentially dangerous situation. When it comes to gophering or the gopher clause, this refers to us reserving the right to ask our volunteers to do things that may seem overwhelmingly simple, such as fetching a bottle of water for somebody or reserving a seat for one of our special guests. It's things that may seem very simple, but in the long run can make a difference. Speaking of special guests, you may be asked to help from time to time with special guests. This could be things like bringing them water, holding a seat at an event for them, helping them set up with a booth, anything like that. The main thing to remember when you're interacting with a special guest is to just treat them like any other human. Yes, they are a famous human being, but they are still a human being. And we will go in more detail over special guests and our interactions with them at our next meeting. Which, speaking of, our next meetings will be held for January 12th at 2 p.m. Central Time in our EvilleCon's Discord server. That one will be over how to not fangirl or fanboy or fan person with our special guests. Our following meeting will be on February 9th regarding service animals, IDs, and more, and on February 23rd going over registration. And of course, all of these meetings will have a recorded version available following the meeting for anybody who is unable to attend. And with that, I wish you all a very wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.